This is the VW Crafter, a large panel van that, well, in my opinion, does its job absolutely perfectly. Now, this is the current generation of the VW Crafter, but you are going to notice some elements that are very clearly taken from previous generations of all sorts of VW vehicles. And I'm going to tell you in this review why none of that matters, because it doesn't matter. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get notified whenever we post new content just like this. And if you are in the market for a brand new van, car or pickup truck, head to Vanarama.com and check out the deals. Now, with no further ado, let's give the VW Crafter its very own Vanarama road test. If you ask me, it's a pretty hard ask for any large van to compete in the large van sector at the moment. If you operate in that category, you're going to have to compete with the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, one of the most lauded and applauded vans on the market right now, and the Ford Transit, which is big and affordable and does everything a large van does with all of Ford's lovely interior sparkly bits. So the VW Crafter, it's the other premium option in the large van category. But the problem with it, and it is the only problem with it, is that apart from sparks of modern brilliance, it feels like its majority is the last generation of VW vehicles. So let's have a think about some of the places that the VW Crafter excels. The way it looks. I mean, this is probably one of the most handsome, if I can say that about a van. This is one of the most handsome looking large vans on the market. VW's iconic badge sits firmly in the front of the grille, and it's got these wonderful little chrome details that slash across the front of the vehicle. I mean, it's a good looking van. It is a really good looking van. Staying at the front end, visibility is fantastic. I mean, it is really, really good. It's already a big vehicle, but this windscreen is at just the right angle. The A-pillars are just the right thickness, and you, in your driving position, are at just the right height to make everything work absolutely perfectly. It's a perfect concoction of driving visibility and position. It's hard to think actually of any other van that I didn't have to fiddle a lot with the seat settings and the rake and adjust the steering wheel to get comfortable and into a position this good. In fact, I'd probably go so far as to say that VW Crafter's visibility is probably the best in the large van sector at the moment. There's a few people I'm expecting in the comments right now to be telling me I'm wrong, but that's fine. It's just my opinion. Finally, let's have a look at the engines. So the VW Crafters at the moment pack a 2-litre TDI diesel engine under the bonnet. So far so normal. The Ford Transit also has a 2-litre EcoBlue diesel engine underneath the bonnet, but the Ford EcoBlues are probably more powerful. It's very fair to say, and I think there are going to be a lot of pundits who agree with me on this one, that some of the lower power options available for this 2-litre engine do not have many guts, and so you will find yourself, you know, sort of having to push the vehicle quite hard. At the higher power outputs, however, you will find that this van is one of the fastest on the road, and it feels slick and easy and comfortable to drive, and you don't feel like you're having to push the vehicle too hard at all. It's very good, so I would definitely advise go for a higher power output if you can. It's not that the lower power output versions of the 2-litre engine is gutless. It's just when you drive a van this big and you are carrying payloads of 1300 to 1400 kilograms, you want to feel like the engine is capable of carrying that. If you don't have satisfying poke, then you're not really going to feel like you have satisfying carrying abilities. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to point out how big this van is. They gave me one of the largest and longest wheelbases, and it's actually quite high roof, although there is indeed a higher roof version available than even this one. The usual rules apply though. The shorter the van, the lower the van, the higher the payload. Just keep that in mind when you're thinking about getting one of these. The back end of the VW Crafter, being a large panel van, is of course where it excels. I mean, look at these absolutely humongous barn style doors you've got at the back here. They open in the standard way, up to 90 degrees either side, and they just lock in place really nicely. This is something that you'll always notice with VW, is that there is definitive build quality. Pull the doors forward, disengage the door locks, and they open up to their full 270 degrees where they're held in place by magic magnets. Not that magnets are magic. Simple physics. And just take it all in. I mean, the back end of this vehicle is cavernous. All the dimensions are going to start whizzing around me, the length, the height, the payloads, the maximums, all of those things are going to be whizzing around courtesy of our very good video editor. But I'm just going to step up in to give you a sense of scale. As you can see, even at one of the lower roof settings, my head isn't even, I mean, I'm about 3 or 4 inches away from actually scraping my head on it. It's absolutely gigantic. There's fantastic VW build quality in here as well because the ply lining is brilliant. And you've got to love the fact that on the floor is that really tough MDF covering that VW used to basically cover the floor. I mean, at the end of the day, you want something like that to take the brunt of any impact of things sliding in and out. You don't want the metalwork to take the impact of that force. Now, it's all very well and good showing you the back end here, but you have to see the side sliding door. It's kind of fitting that on a van this size, the side sliding door is this massive. And again, I don't want to emphasize it too much because it just sounds like I'm waxing lyrical, but the build quality of VW vans is really evident here. The side sliding door could just slam open, but it actually very gently and pleasantly locks into place. And of course the opening here is absolutely wide enough to slide Euro pallets in from the side, meaning that if this is the only side of the van that you can access with a forklift truck or something like that, putting a pallet in, you can do it from the side. It's absolutely superb. I love it. I think it's massive, absolutely huge. Anyway, let's go to a place in the van where, well, old and new worlds collide, let's just say. When you sit in the front of any VW, especially the VW Crafter, there is that kind of tinge of familiarity, and that is because if you've ever sat in any other VW vehicles, there are all sorts of components that you can see are being shared. The big infotainment screen is probably number 1 on the list, and I'm pretty sure it was in the previous generation of Golfs. Yeah, but as I say, I don't want to wax too lyrical on it, but there is something kind of dated beginning to creep into the VW Crafter's cabin. Some of the newer vans in the large van sector, like the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter and even the new Ford Transits, their interiors look great and they're very, very comfortable. This cabin doesn't feel like it's aged too much. However, there are some new modern flourishes. There's very nice LED lighting up here. There's all the control consoles and your SOS buttons. They're all up here as well. There's excellent storage. However, on the top of the dash, all of the storage is open and there are no lids. So it's kind of, you see what I mean? It's little compromises that you might have to make if you choose the Crafter. Again, not massive compromises. Here's the other thing, 12-volt sockets. There's one down here and there's also one over there on the passenger side on the top of the dashboard. And yet next to this 12-volt socket down here, there are 2 USB-C connections, which feel incredibly and very ultra-modern. It's just this weird kind of juxtaposition of things that feel just a little bit dated, but things that are incredibly cutting edge. I mean, I personally don't have a USB-C connection for my mobile phone charger, but if you do, the VW Crafter has absolutely got you covered. Anyway, let's just take a kind of a first impression of what it's like. I've already said in the driving section, this is one of the most pleasant vans to drive, purely because of its driving position and the visibility afforded by this fabulous windscreen. The dashboard is also really nice and clear. The 2 dials, your rev counter and your speedometer are fabulous. They are so easy to see. The steering wheel as well is also really nice and luxury, but again, literally looks like it's been taken from one of the cars. It's got a sort of a flat bottom to give it this kind of sporty feel. It's got some nice kind of feely plastic around here, and it's got, of course, all the controls that you usually expect. It's got your speed limiter, volume controls, your voice control settings as well, and of course your sort of multifunction display buttons as well. Just one point on that, in between your 2 big dials on the dashboard instrumentation is a driver information display, which displays the usual sort of information that any VAG group vehicle usually throws at you. Miles per gallon, how much range you've got left, etc, etc. So let's track along the top of the dashboard. As I said, there's some storage up there, but it is all open. So don't put anything in there that could slide around, otherwise it is going to start flying around as if you were inside the International Space Station in 0 gravity. You've got some cup holders to the left and right, one on the passenger side, one on the driver. It's all right. It's not the best cup holder you're ever going to find, but it's a cup holder, so, you know, fair dues. Let's take a look at the infotainment screen. It's there. Again, it feels a little bit dated. The nav is a little bit sluggish, but you've got one, and you've got all sorts of settings that you can use there. You've even got Bluetooth connectivity as well, and most mobile phones have that. So if you've got Android Auto and/or Apple CarPlay, you can absolutely hook your device up to this infotainment system and you will find that it works just as well as any others. In this particular trim level, you've got air conditioning, and I would say don't go for a lower version, a low trim level version of this particular van. Go for a mid-range to high, because then you get air conditioning, and you will find that really does make a difference. As I said, down here to the left, you've got a 12-volt socket, and you've also got 2 USB-C connections. Brilliant, very, very future-proofed. The gear stick up here, nice and easy to use. There's nothing fancy about it. It's a no-frills plastic topped gear stick, and you've also got the collar up here to pull yourself into reverse. So don't forget, it's not one of those push-down ones. You do actually have to pull up and engage that reverse gear right there. You've got a glove box. Awesome. You've got some excellent door storage. Awesome. You've got some brilliant overhead storage. Awesome, including 2 letterbox size kind of slip areas up here, but none of them have rubberized bottoms, which is a bit of a shame. Speaking of rubberized bottoms, that's the feeling you're going to get sitting on these seats right here, because they are wipe clean. Yeah, it's a bit of an odd choice for me. I think fabric always goes a long way for comfort in a van like this. The VW have gone for the sort of wipe clean probably means that the Crafter is something that they're pegging in terms of durability. They want people to look at this van and think this is really durable, it's plastic, it's wipe clean, it's got resale value, etc., that kind of thing. And underneath here is some storage, which is always nice to see. Yep, so you can stick stuff down there, sandwiches, documents, copies of The Godfather, you know, you can just whack them in under there. It's very, very nice and versatile. So there you go. That is the cabin of the VW Crafter. It's functional. It's a little bit dated, but it's, you know, it's not a deal breaker. It's really not. I mean, yeah, there's not too much else to say. So I'm going to pass back to, yes, I'm going to pass back to me driving. Tom? Thanks, Tom. I'm back. So, how do we finish this one? Well, the VW Crafter is not a bad van by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, on the outside, it is a premium large van. On the inside, there are some dated aspects, and as I said, this current gen feels a little bit like it's filled with previous gen gadgets and gizmos. Again, it's not a bad thing. Large vans are designed to be tough, durable, and last forever. And I'm pretty sure that a VW Crafter will last forever. In fact, on this drive today, I have seen no less than 3 VW Crafters of previous generations still alive and kicking. There's a facelift version on the way. So you either go for this one, something tried and tested, or you go for the next one, something new which is built on tried and tested. The VW Crafter is always going to be easy to pin with that particular name. And that is probably the fairest review that I can give to the VW Crafter.